If you're a videographer and you look at this, how do you achieve that? It's very hard. But if you have people helping you and they know their role, they know what they do, it will be very easy.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Show Love Episode 2. My name is Ben. I will be your host today, and joining me across the table is David Agamata from Mata Films. David, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me, Ben.
So today's main topic is going to be on coverage and how and sort of to clarify that term, it's sort of how we film the events of a wedding, and capture all the angles we need to tell our stories. And I asked David to join me today, as he really is a master at this. His films often comprise scenes that are cut together from multiple camera angles, and you always seem to follow the action. You always the camera's always cutting to just the right angle at just the right moment. It's something that's very natural to watch, but quite hard to achieve in practice. So I wanted to get David's perspective on how we achieve that. But before we get into that, I asked David to bring along one of his sort of favorite scenes from one of his weddings, and we're just going to have a quick little chat through that, his thought process around how he made it and how he edited it and how we captured it from all the different angles. So let's crack in. How about we just it's quite short, so we'll just watch it first, and then we can sort of talk through
Fire
from
away.
there.
Every time you're driving over the bridge, every time you're coming along here, let that bridge be a reminder to you of today. And there are always going to be times when the water is rough, but if those foundations are strong, your marriage will survive, because the bridge won't last unless it has solid foundations.
When I'm with you, I know that you feel the same way too. Shows in every little thing you do. Nothing's better than when I'm with you. Then when I'm with you.
Cool. Okay, so short little scene, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Quite sort of simple from the outset, but there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you a backstory about that.
Yeah.
Even before the wedding day, so I met with a couple.
Yeah.
And she right away told me that my dad loves the ocean.
Yeah.
And love boats, and he got his own boat, right? So I ingested that, take a mental note. Okay, dad loves boats. And then as we go on with our discussion about the wedding, she keeps mentioning about the dad loving the boat, and how her parents was married at the other side of the bridge. It's called the wharf, the venue, right?
Yeah.
And then the other side of the bridge is the Royal Yacht Squadron, where they will be getting married. This young couple. So both sides of the bridge. So I was kind of expecting that the dad will say something about that.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah.
So for this 20-second clip, the coverage is quite very challenging.
Yeah.
Because there's three people.
Yeah.
Three people. So one on the boat with the couple, one flying the drone, and one waiting at the venue, just waiting. So it's the challenge there is coordination and how to shoot it. You know what I mean? So it's impossible for me to produce this 20-second clip if I'm alone, or even just two people.
Yeah.
So it's really hard.
Yeah, so to sort of talk through what's happening, especially for those who are just listening. Basically, it's a scene where it's the bride arriving at the ceremony venue, except she's arriving on a boat. And so we've got all sorts of angles. We've got a drone covering. We start off with this beautifully composed bird's eye view of the boat coming into frame. Drone straightforward.
It's not like that. Let's edit it actually.
It's edited?
Yeah, it's actually the boat's going that way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's going from left to right, and you twisted it around in
Yeah, because
post.
we can ask the boat to stop. We're gonna position the drone
Yeah.
and then go, right?
Yeah.
So everything happens in real time.
Okay, well that's cool. I like
Right?
that. Yeah, okay. So we start off with the bird's eye view of the boat, and then we've got some shots inside the boat. So there's obviously someone on the boat filming, and we've got some established shots of the bridge and stuff in the water, and then we've cut to a shot on land. So there's obviously someone on the boat, someone on land,
Yeah.
someone flying the drone.
Yes.
And what's interesting about this sequence is this is all just before the ceremony. So
Yes.
this is quite a tight,
Very
time,
tight.
It's quite tight time period. I mean,
Yeah.
the drone's up till. I mean, that last shot just there is the boat sort of pulling into the marina right at the end.
Yeah.
So the drone's up the entire time. So do you want to talk through about how you kind of went from this sequence into shooting the ceremony? What's the kind of logistics around that?
Okay. First of all, because it's a very stressful thing to do. If you're a videographer
Yeah.
and you look at this, how do you achieve that? It's very hard. But if you have people helping you and they know their role, they know what they do, it will be very easy.
Yeah.
I know my role, and my second shooter know his role, my third shooter know his role. So after the boat arrives, the drone pilot lands the drone, gets his tripod and position it to the right place, and then make sure that the audio is recording on the lapel and on the recorder, the Zoom H5.
Yeah.
So that's his role. My role is to make sure that I capture the bride getting off the boat and getting into the ceremony venue. The second shooter's role is to make sure that to capture the guests coming in. So you see what I'm saying? Like, I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You have if you want to have like overall coverage, you need to have multiple people helping you. But if you want just snippets of things, then maybe 1 person, 2 person would do.
Are you, for this scene in particular, did you sort of storyboard it out beforehand or pre-plan it much before the day?
As much as I would like to storyboard, I'm not really good with drawing. So I kind of just imagine it in my mind. Like I said, the bride said that our family loves boats and we love the ocean. If we have the choice to sell the house and buy a boat, we'll do it. She said that. So we have to show a lot of water. We have to show a lot of water and a boat.
Yeah.
I think if they could, they would have married on the boat.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a pretty big boat, but it's not that big. Yeah, cool. Anything else you want to talk about around like the planning and execution of this particular little sequence?
For the planning, so because we attend rehearsals, wedding rehearsals the day before, so we're at the venue.
Yeah.
So we kind of plan where we put the cameras.
Yeah.
And we coordinate with the venue. If there's any restrictions. It's actually restricted to go into the marina if you don't have a boat in there.
Yeah.
But they gave us an exception, so which is good. So yeah, if you scroll back a bit, let's just play it. So the cameraman who's filming this boat approaching is the same cameraman who filmed. It's the same cameraman who filmed this.
Yeah.
So he was able to achieve that by going at the end of the marina,
Yeah.
film for 10 seconds, and then run back
Yeah.
to the venue.
Yeah.
So we did plan that.
Yeah.
We pre-planned that. I think we won't be able to do it on the day, like just without planning.
Yeah. And so attending rehearsals and stuff, it allows you to sort of like scope out and kind of map those paths.
And the venue as well, because the venue, whoever's managing the venue, they've never worked with us before.
Yeah.
Who are you? Like, their clients are the couple. We are not the clients.
Yeah.
Right. So
we're just a vendor.
Be if we're there the day before and we show that this is important to us as well as videographers, then they kind of respect that.
Yeah.
And they give us a good treatment.
Yeah. Cool. All right, fantastic. I mean, that was, and I think that leads us in really nicely into the main topic of coverage, because that's kind of that little sequence
am I
is
talking
a
too
perfect.
fast?
Sorry,
Am I talking too fast?
No, you're
No?
great, man.
Okay.
It's really good. It's a nervous thing to be on camera, and because we're so used to being behind it.
Behind, yeah.
Yeah. So to go into our main topic of coverage, so we're talking about obviously like the variety of angles and framing of our shots, and so there's sort of two kind of areas of thinking about coverage. There's kind of the multicam coverage, which is sort of kind of like what the last scene was about. But then there's, even to sort of break that down further, there's the sort of the single camera coverage around, am I getting close-ups of something? Am I getting a wide of something?
Right.
Am I, when we're just shooting certain parts of the day solo, or even the whole wedding solo. I don't know if you shoot weddings solo.
I did it once. I won't do it again.
So to start us off, do you want to tell me a little bit about where you're from originally? I think that'll lead into a bit of context around why you think about coverage differently to most people.
So I'm Filipino. I'm from the Philippine Islands. Because there's a lot of islands in there, like 7,000. So interesting fact. The Philippines doesn't have divorce in their law. And the culture is deeply rooted. The marriage is deeply rooted in the culture because of religion. Mostly Christian Catholic mostly.
Yeah.
So imagine a country that there's no divorce, and all the parents are teaching their kids to get married. If you want to have family, you get married. You can't just have a partner. You have to marry. So there's a lot of there's a lot of market in that country. Talking about abundance of projects, right? So, and there's this culture in the Philippines where we kind of like glamour stuff.
Yep.
Like makeup, celebrity. We like high production stuff. So the wedding videographers in the Philippines are really high production teams. Have you heard of SDE? Same day edit.
Oh yeah.
It's normal in there. It's
such a luxury item. It's barely any videographers in
New Zealand.
New Zealand do it.
But in the Philippines, it's like standard. It's like buying a candy. And to achieve a beautiful same day edit, which is for people who doesn't know what it is your wedding video shown on the same day at the reception. Let me repeat that again. Your wedding video shown at the same day during your reception.
Yeah.
Let's think for a bit.
Yeah. You've got like 2 hours or something to edit it, or an hour or so.
Good question. So the way to achieve that is you need to have a dedicated editor.
Yeah.
And that person only does one thing.
Yeah.
To edit.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm talking about the how Filipinos do their wedding, right?
And so even outside same day edits, the idea of roles is something, because like I remember when you were telling me earlier about how wedding films are done in the Philippines, like how many sort of videographers is normal on a day?
On a 6 to 7.
6 to 7.
Yeah.
6 to 7 videographers in a team on a day. That just does not happen in New Zealand. But with that, and it's something that just seems quite extravagant and outlandish and unnecessary almost to sort of our sensibilities here. But with 6 videographers, you get a level of coverage that you'll
see everything.
And the idea of people having roles and specific things, specific tasks to do on a day comes out of that.
When I say 6 to 7, it's not like it's not like every one of them is holding camera. Yeah. So maybe 5 of them holds a camera. Maybe 2 of them. One is the SD editor. the editor, and one person is a runner, which means that he gets what the other people needs, what the videographers need. If they need the blue tack, they run out of blue tack. That person goes to a store buy blue tack. We ran out of tape. Person goes to a store buy a tape. Or maybe that person is a lightman. All he does for the whole day is light.
Yeah.
He's got a belt thingy with a rod and the lights up there, and he's got a V-mount battery. Yeah. Just lighting stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't have that luxury here in New Zealand. So we got to work around. But yeah, so I came from a country where all of this is normal. Yeah. Everything is normal. That's not even luxurious in the Philippines. Like, it's normal. So moving to New Zealand and getting into the wedding industry here, I was kind of like shocked on how I was put in a position where I don't know how to do this. Yeah, I probably can't do this with only 2 or 3 people. But then, so I have to change my strategy and my style. Basically, I have to adjust to the New Zealand culture, which is nice. Gives me my own style.
And I think you would have found a balance between the kind of extravagant Filipino style to the more like
New Zealand laid back style.
To be, I mean,
we actually get
to our detriments sometimes. Almost a bit too laid back.
When couple ask us, how many videographers do you have? Oh, there will be 3. What?
Yeah, because people are used to. I mean, a lot of videographers in New Zealand are solo.
Yeah.
And then I think as we talk more about how you cover a wedding, people will start to realize what they're missing out on shooting a wedding solo. And I think even if you don't go all the way up to 3 shooters, even if your next step as a videographer is to go from solo shooting to having a second shooter, I think this episode will hopefully give people an idea of what they can hope to expect to come from that, rather than just 2 people doing the same
thing.
You're getting more of the same sorts of footage. So to sort of start off breaking down how you cover different parts of the day, I kind of want to start with the more time sensitive stuff, because that's where the idea of multicams and multiple cameras comes in to its own, really. And I'd love to start off with something that I feel like is a bit of your signature and something that stands out for you, which happens to be from related to the shot you showed me earlier, but ceremony entrances.
Oh yeah, that one.
Because it's something that I've noticed in your films are often quite beautiful and orchestrated, and they always sort of baffle me around, like, but you're going straight into the ceremony. Like, how are you getting this beautiful gimbal shot and all these other angles, but it's like they're going right into the ceremony. Like, they've got to have all these other angles set up and ready to go. So do you want to talk me through how you approach capturing a ceremony entrance?
Yes, sure. Let me step back a bit again, if that's okay. When I got into the wedding industry, my wife is my sort of what's the proper term? Consultant. I always ask my wife, Jenna, if I'm filming your wedding, it's like if we're not married, how would you like to see it? Because I want to hear it from a person who was a bride before, Oh, I want to see me walking down the aisle, and I want to see the reaction of my groom whilst I'm walking down the aisle, and maybe the people looking at, like, the guests. Okay. So I always go back to her if I want to do something, because she's been there before. Brides, the new brides, they probably don't know what they want. They just want a beautiful wedding video. But what is a beautiful wedding video, right? Something that captivates your heart, right? Something that reminds you of your day. If it touches your emotion, then it's a beautiful wedding video. So going back to your question about the multi-cam coverage of the walking down the aisle, I made sure that it's part of my wedding videos. I'm not sure if it's a good or bad, actually, to put it into every wedding video that I have. Because if you watch my videos, they all have that shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it's fine to have a signature thing, and the fact that you kind of like did the research and asking your wife like what is important, and that being a sort of sticking point. Like it is. I mean, I remember from my wedding day that being a really intense moment. It was the most sort of emotionally intense moment of seeing Michaela walk down the aisle. So it's like it's like all the emotions of the morning, all that sort of built up energy comes to a point at that moment, be it the ceremony entrance or a first look or anything like that.
It's different, right? It's because it's that moment where everything sinks in. That, oh my God, I'm getting married. Am I sure? Right.
And I think because if you think about how like Hollywood movies are shot, the climax of a moment, the climax of an emotional moment, often comes to a head with lots of angles cutting back and forward and the pace of those cuts gets faster and faster. And you do this a bit in your films too, and it only is possible with those multiple angles. And so I think in terms of a trope you're using over again, I think it's a great thing for you to sort of pin your style on.
I've spoke with other videographers before, and they said, David, what you're doing is kind of repetitive and predictable. Yeah, it is. It's a wedding day. What do you expect to happen, right? But it, again, goes back to the point where brides want to see that. Brides want to see themselves walking down the aisle.
I think as like creatives, we not so much forget, but we can get carried away in this sense of like making every video different. But this is still like the couple's, I mean, most of the time, their only wedding film. And it's the first time they're seeing themselves on screen. So it's like they're not necessarily judging their film to
comparing to other wedding videos,
ones,
right?
So like this is just the one.
Because for us, we've seen hundreds of wedding videos. And maybe we can think that it's repetitive, but for the couple, it's the first time that they've seeing it, right? And if I'm the bride, I would really love to see myself walking down.
And if you've found something that works, it's and that seems to be one you've done. So around the sort of to get more like sort of like logistical about things, like how are you setting things up? How are you prepping the ceremony? Like, especially because the thing that always gets me is like, it's not so much the walking down the aisle, but it's like, how are you prepping yourself for once you've walked down the aisle to record into the actual ceremony itself? So how are you setting things up? Who's where and what's
so there's three of us. So I'm the. Let me break it down for you. Okay, so there's three of us. There is a creative shooter. There is a main shooter, and then there's a third shooter. The creative shooter is responsible for anything creative, glide shots, out of the blue shots, anything that would give beautiful imagery. That's the job of the creative shooter. The main shooter is the safe shot. Just in case something happens with the creative shooter, at least we have a footage that we can revert back to. And then the third person is the reaction of the people. Not the bride and the groom, but the other people. You know what I'm saying? So how we prep before the walking down the aisle is we have to be there at least 10 minutes before, right? To set up the audio, very important. Audio first. Set up the audio first before the cameras. Once we get that ready, then we set up the main shooter, which is down the aisle, opposite to the groom. We're not blocking the groom's view. We're opposite. And the third shooter would be on the same side of the second shooter, looking at the groom, and sometimes the guests. So it's the 180-degree rule.
So they're both on the same side.
Side.
They're not breaking that invisible line.
So we make, as much as we can, we try not to break that, because on the video it will look weird. The bride's walking this way, and then the groom's looking that way. So it's a fundamental cinematic technique that if people listening don't know,
they need to immediately Google the 180 degree rule in filmmaking.
But having said
yeah.
that it's a rule, it's not really a rule.
You can obviously break it, but it's definitely a heuristic, a rule of thumb that people should, if they don't know what they're doing, they should stick to.
So what if we don't have a shot?
Yeah.
It's impossible for one of the cameramen to not break the 180 degree rule, and then we break it.
Yeah,
we break. We have to get the shot.
It's better. It's the thing. It's because we're not dealing in Hollywood movies. We're dealing in basically a documentary at this point. It's like it's better to have the shot than not have the shot.
But if we can get a good shot, then we'll do it.
Obviously.
So once those two videographers are ready, and then we'll just give the signal that we're ready.
Yeah.
And me being the one with the gimbal, since I'm moving, I can be anywhere.
Yeah.
But the important thing here is coordinate with the photographers. So sometimes in New Zealand there are 2 photographers.
Yeah.
So just coordinate with them. Where will you be standing, and what you will do? Exactly what you will do. Don't try to get sneaky. Don't try to get smart with the videographers. Just work with them.
Yeah.
They understand that you need to get the shot, and you should understand that they also need to get a shot.
Yeah.
So
that's because that's quite often a moment where real estate can be limited for you've got 2 videographers already down the aisle. How do you deal with and make space for a photographer as well down there with you?
So we avoid using tripods as much as possible.
Yeah. You on monopods?
We go on monopods.
Yeah.
If it's not possible, if it's really like a congested place, we go handheld. So we use, I'm not sponsored by Panasonic, but we use Panasonic, and just because of the IBIS. The
IBIS, yeah.
So it's very useful. You just put the camera next to our body, and then we're good.
Yeah.
So that's how we do it.
And you just sort of like get a rapport going with the photographers. So it's like, okay, you go here, you shoot over my head, or I'll go.
So what we tell the photographers is, I will be staying here for the whole duration of walking down the aisle. Like, I won't move at all.
Yeah.
So I'm on a 70 to 200, and you know how tight that is. So I won't see you, but you can go around me, behind me, but not in front of me.
Yeah.
So just explain to them what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then what we do is, once the bride is halfway down the aisle, then that videographer in front goes to the side. Can you imagine that?
The videographer in front, so the one who's shooting her on the 70-200, moves to the opposite side, to the groom's side,
to the side, to see the handover.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we try, not every time, because sometimes it gets very crowded.
Yeah, because that's often a moment that you sort of like choreograph with them as they're sort of moving down.
Because sometimes the celebrant will be like, "You can't stand there." The bride will stand there. Yeah. Of course you won't stand there. You just have to explain them, I won't stand here. I'm just going to film the bride walking, and when she's halfway, I'll move away. Yeah. Move to the side and film from there.
Yeah. And so to go sort of transition now into the ceremony itself.
Yeah.
So you've done handover. So you've done your little dance around moving from the aisle to catching the handover. As we lead now into the ceremony, who's doing what? How are you settling into your roles around, like, you've obviously got a gimbal, so you personally have been doing the sort of creative shots with the gimbal. You've got 2 videographers down the end of the aisle. How are they moving into the position from there?
So, like, when the bride's halfway, so both videographers will move from the front, and at the back they'll both move to the sides to be ready. Yeah. And during that time, they're not recording. So it'll be up to me to be steady in the center. So I'm following the bride, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
behind her.
Yeah. And then I'll stay there for a few minutes and look at them. Once they're good, look at me, good, recording. And then I take out my camera from the gimbal and move it on a monopod or tripod and put it back. Yeah.
Cool.
So we got 3 cameras recording.
So your third one is, are you like a safety wide at the back?
That's like a safety one. Yeah.
Cool. And then you're just your traditional reverse shots with bride and groom.
Yeah, mid shots.
Yeah. Are you changing that coverage up at all during the ceremony, or you kind of just lock it in?
It depends on the situation. There are situations where some guests won't move.
Yep.
Because we want their spot, because it's
Yeah.
the best spot.
Yeah.
So we have to adjust.
Yeah.
But sometimes we ask the guests to move. Can you please move?
Yeah.
Just put the camera here.
Mm.
But if they won't move, then we have to. I don't want to make a scene, so
Yeah.
just put a camera the second best angle.
Yeah.
And the groom camera, the camera that points to the groom, will get the reaction of the guests.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the camera that points at the bride stays at the bride.
And the celebrant
And celebrant.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, cool. That makes sense. And then everyone who's on their particular cameras knows their role around. Like the person who's shooting the bride and the celebrant isn't trying to get reaction shots of the crowd
At the same time.
because
so it goes back to having roles.
Yeah.
So you know, if you have a role, stick to that role.
Yeah.
Because so if you have a role, the next thing is you need to trust your teammates.
Yes.
You know, you have to trust your second shooter or your third shooter. Even though you're the creative shooter, like for me, once I give my camera to the section, I will trust that person with all my heart.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to be the nagging videographer and bossy, right?
Yeah.
Because we have to trust them. We have to let them be creative too, right?
Yeah. And so, sort of beyond ceremony now, moving into something like the speeches, are you approaching it similarly in the sense that you're kind of like just sort of locking into a particular coverage for the night, or are you kind of adapting as you go around?
Good question. So we got 3 cameras. So one will be on a tripod for the reception.
Yeah.
And that would be pointing to the speaker. Every time there's someone speaking, we need to be on a tripod on a reception. The second camera would be a camera looking at the bride and groom or the bridal table.
And again, you're following that 180-degree rule, so that you're getting those good reaction shots.
As much as we can. And then the third camera would be a wide shot and transitioning from wide and sometimes looking at the individual faces of the guests. Mostly the families. First families.
And you're figuring out who those key family members are ahead of time.
You can easily figure that out during the ceremony because they're the ones
they're in the front row.
Yeah.
And they're often in the.
Sometimes there's an odd uncle at the back, sitting at the back. So you have to figure that out. And is there anything particular that you? Because I know, for example, I've started doing a thing where I'm listening and waiting to hear when a speech is ending and getting my gimbal ready for that, so that like I can get a big sort of sweeping gimbal shot of the whole reception whilst everyone's clapping. So is there any sort of moments in the sort of the speeches or reception that you're sort of like breaking your locked in the wide shot
or you're locked in coverage to sort of capture any extra kind of things like that? If I'm not busy, because what I do sometimes during the reception while someone's talking, I'm checking the audio every maybe 5 minutes. I'm always checking the audio because if we lose that audio, we don't have a wedding film. Done. Yeah.
It'll just become a slideshow.
You
know what I'm saying?
So
always checking the audio. So if I'm comfortable that okay, audio, and I feel like I'm not doing anything anymore, like my 2 guys are recording, I'm not doing anything, then I'll be creative. As much as we can, we want to shoot rather than just do nothing. So
And so are you recording all your audio separately on something like an H5?
So we record our audio on a portable recorder, Zoom H5. We don't rely on the onboard microphone and the camera. It's just there for syncing.
Totally.
And maybe for just the clapping, ambient noise. But for crystal clean audio, you need to do it properly. You need to do it properly.
Totally. A couple more moments of the day that tend to be quite sort of like time sensitive would, I guess, be something like the first dance. How do you guys go about? Do you feel like you need 3 shooters for the first dance, or are you starting to feel like...
we can just do it by 2,
Yeah.
2 cameras. So for the first dance, because we light our reception, right? So we light the speaker,
Yeah.
and we light the bridal table.
I think if there's videographers out there who aren't lighting receptions, they should start to think about that, because reception venues are lit terribly,
yeah.
shockingly, and there's small enough, cheap enough, and portable enough lights now that there's no real need to not light.
Some videographers will argue that, and they can just crank up the ISO if they have Sony.
You can, like there's the whole like Sony thing around. It can see in the dark. There's a difference between more light and better quality direction and quality of light.
For us, it's more of a where we want to shape the light.
Yeah,
you know?
You want to pop the subject out. You want to be able to see them clearly.
Yeah.
You want them to be brighter than the background behind them.
Exactly.
All sorts of things like that.
So one of the advantages if you have multiple people in your group is, for us, there's 3 of us, so the 2 videographers can shoot.
Yeah.
Whilst the third videographer can set up the lights, set up the audio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't have to drop my camera. And set up the lights.
Yeah. Have you experimented with, like you were talking about earlier, with in the Philippines, like the lighting guy with the monopod belts thing? Have you done that?
No. But it is common. It's still being done there because.
Because I imagine for the first dance that'd be quite cool, because you could like be in like gimbal camera with the first dance, and then the like if we got like a follow lighting, it can like always be backlit or something.
In the Philippines, they'll be they won't say anything awkward. Like the guests will be like, "Oh, that's cool." Yeah. But here we're like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
Yeah. People don't. Yeah. It would be.
It's just a different culture.
Yeah.
So what we do, we light the reception. So going back to your question, how we shoot the first dance is the third videographer points the light to the dance floor. Just flips the light like that, points it to the dance floor, and be ready for the first dance. Yeah. And the 2 videographers will be ready by then. Yeah. So
And so for the 2 videographers, have you got 1 wide, 1 tight? Is that how you
exactly.
kind of do it? Yeah.
So 1 wide, 1 tight, so you can cut in between.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Nice. And
if the third videographer have time and he's still filling in, he can grab his camera and shoot. Yeah. I'm not gonna stop him.
No, totally. I guess now, so to transition into some more kind of like, I guess like non-time sensitive moments, so moments throughout the day that don't necessarily require multiple cameras, audio syncing, things like prep, photo session. Like for example, the prep. How are you going about? Because I assume, like, for example, the bride's prep, it'd just be you.
Yes.
You're at the bride's sort of prep location alone. And how are you making sure you're getting enough, like, close-ups, wides? How are you going through in your head, ticking off, all the things that you need?
Cool. So, again, to make our lives easier, 1 videographer stays with the bride.
Yep.
1 videographer stays with the groom. So imagine if it's just 1 person who's the video. You have to drive back and forth. If they're not getting ready in the same hotel, it's gonna be hard. So 1 videographer stays with the bride, 1 stays with the groom, and then the third person, if it's allowed, then we'll fly the drone. It's very efficient. So for me, I stay with the bride, and I just get my camera. I mostly shoot handheld. I get the what you call it? The flowers, the rings.
Oh, like the objects.
So I get those done first.
Yeah.
And once it's done, and then I'll wait in the room and observe, listen, wait for something to happen. Look for drama. Look for laughter. Just try to feel a sense of what's happening. So that's why I do the rings dress, flowers, whatever that they want to film. And then I just listen.
Yeah.
And I just listen. What's happening? What's happening? Are they talking about the father who passed away? I'll film that. Audio is very important. Audio is very important. So candid moments where they're laughing. Oh, you're marrying the groom. It looks. So we want to capture that, right? Because it's a good micro story.
Yeah.
For the edit, you know. Because
So when you're hearing those micro stories happen, what's going through your head around like, okay, how do I capture this as one videographer? Because obviously you've got the audio to think of, so you're probably like recording unbroken, so you don't chop up that audio. And then how are you thinking about getting your different angles as a solo shooter for that? Are you just filming wide, or are you going in for tight for certain times?
It depends on what they're talking about. If it's if they're just laughing,
you just
I just go wide,
and
try to put all of them in the frame. If it's like if the bride's reading a letter from the groom, so I'll try to capture it, her first, reading the letter as a whole. And then once it's done, she's gonna have a conversation with the bridesmaid, like, "Oh, she feels so good. I'm so excited to see her." And then that's the time I go B-roll mode. You know, film the letter, the hands, film the bridesmaid over the shoulder. Just as soon as I got like 5-8 seconds usable clips, and then I go different angles.
I think that's quite a useful tip too for people who, if you're trying to capture B-roll and stuff, I use like the sort of 4-second rule, but 5 or 6 is fine as well. So when you're filming like a piece of B-roll, count in your head like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and like hold that shot for at least 4 seconds. Otherwise, the shot's kind of not useful.
Good. It's like not enough.
It's not enough. And when you're in a moment and you're stressed and you're trying to move quickly, you can sort of go, okay, got that, and then move on. Got that, and then you get to the editing, and it's like you don't have enough, or you don't actually have the coverage that you thought you did. Of that.
So I always think. I forgot the term, but three different shots of the same thing.
Okay.
For example, I'm gonna shoot this microphone, right? I'm gonna shoot it wide. I'm gonna shoot it mid. And I'm gonna shoot it like really close. So I'll apply that principle to whatever that I think is interesting that's happening on the day. Maybe she's getting dressed, wide. Once you got your good shot, you don't, because when you're filming, please, when you're filming, please stop looking at the shot, like, because you've already seen it. Like you're recording, you're seeing it.
Oh, you mean like reviewing the footage afterwards? Because you're wasting time.
You're wasting battery, you're wasting moments, you're gonna miss the moments. Because I've seen videographers do that, like shoot
and then check it. You have to trust yourself that you're getting it the first time.
So maybe it comes with experience, but just videographers out there, just you're seeing, once you're recording, you're already seeing what you see on the viewfinder. Try to absorb that, and once you're happy with that, move on. So don't be in love with your shots. Totally.
Just
and keep shooting.
And shooting those multiple framings and checking them off in your head as you go, like, and otherwise, because when you come to editing, how does those different, like how does the wide, the mid, and the tight, what does that do for you in the edit? When
it gives me options. Gives me options. If the bride is reading a letter, and the letter is really emotional, and it's handwritten, it's not typewritten or printed on a computer, I want to get a close-up shot of that because it's handwritten, and then a close-up shot of the bride, maybe just this, maybe the eyes, just if she's crying, just more powerful,
it's the idea of montage in the sense of not like a generic montage, but the kind of more literal translation of montage, where it's like multiple shots together, like one after the other, can create an emotion, especially if you're using some of those sort of cinematic techniques that have been established in movies, where you start on a wide to establish your subject, and then you start to cut in for close-ups on things that matter. Important things. So the close-ups are used to show what's important. And, you know, that, for example, with the letter, so the letter is important, the fact that it's handwritten is important.
Yeah.
Cutting to her reaction's important. But if you didn't have the wide, we've got no context as to what's happening.
Where they are.
Or where they are,
Yeah.
or who it is, or what's happening. So you need both elements to tell that story. And then the mid is just a way to stitch it all together. And,
But, so, because in Hollywood, in filmmaking, like the proper Hollywood filmmaking, they have storyboards.
Yeah.
They have scene 1, wide shot.
Yeah.
Scene 2, wide shot, then cut to mid, and then close up. We don't have that luxury in Wedding Day.
We're recording more like documentarians. Yeah. But we still are using those storytelling techniques to the best of our abilities that have been sort of set out like that.
So we try our best with the knowledge that we have to make it look more beautiful, actually, appealing. Yeah.
And to help the story sort of like
flow.
Yeah, flow. And sort of to go a bit more broad now into kind of coverage in general, like what are you looking for in an edit and like, for example, like has there been times when editing, when you're putting together a scene, when you go like, oh, I really wish I had that and had a shot that you didn't capture on the day? Like, what are you kind of looking for when you're crafting your scenes?
First, audio.
Yeah.
Always looking for audio.
Which I think is a sort of unappreciated aspect of coverage, in the sense that it's often recorded separate, and it almost needs to be thought about as another camera angle almost.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? It's a shot, another angle of thing that just is needed to tell those stories.
So after the wedding, we pack our stuff, we go home, and then I arrive at home. I don't sleep. I take all the memory cards and back it up.
Yep.
And once it's backing up, and then I go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's my golden rule. I don't go to sleep unless the memory cards are backed up. So the next day, if we don't have backlog, then I look at the wedding day as a whole. First, I listen to all the audios. So I listen to the audios, the ceremony, and the reception, and of course on the prep part, the getting ready, if there's any usable audio there. So once I identify the audio, and then I kind of started choosing what's useful. Like, this is what's useful.
Doing a select,
selection.
Yeah.
So that's useful, not useful, junk, throw away. Useful. And then I try to build the story from there. In terms of shots, and then I look for shots that supports the audio. And it's funny, right? I should call myself an audiographer.
And it is the most important part.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's so many people say like audio is the most important, but it is, and it is often the backbone to the stories that.
Now
we're
you're
telling.
asking me, and I'm explaining it. I kind of realized that I build the story from the audio, and then just put the footage on top of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But in terms of like, so you've got, for example, say, let's just use vows for an example. So you've got some really beautiful vows. Let's just break it down. So you've just got really beautiful vows of the bride, and she's talking about the groom or whatever, how much she loves him.
Yeah.
What sort of footage, what sort of shots are you hoping to be able to pair with that? And what would you be upset if you were missing?
Good question. All right. So if the bride starts talking about the groom and how he changed her life, and if I look at the groom angle, the camera that points to the groom, and he's really giving a good emotion, and then I won't go B-roll. I'll just switch to that. Because it's good emotion. But if the groom's like,
or even if you want to amplify, let's say you didn't want to be, if you wanted to go beyond simply, because like I love being luxurious with shots, and if there's a good reaction shot, I'll hold it for ages. But say we're not doing that. Say we're not being luxurious with holding our reaction shots. What sort of things do you think we'd be cutting away to?
I'll probably mostly put the shots from the photo shoot.
Yeah.
Anything that's sweet, but it needs to support what was said.
Yeah.
You know, if it said that, I love you when you wrap your arms around me, then you show some footage that supports that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if the groom's reaction gives you more emotion as a viewer, and then I'll drop the B-roll and just use that one.
And just use that.
Yeah, I'll go emotion first.
Yeah.
Emotion first.
Yeah.
Emotion, beautiful imagery. Sorry, audio, emotion, beautiful imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and so different exercise. What about a kind of spur of the moment, sort of fun, really cool moment that happened either in the morning or maybe like at the reception, something cool that was like, we just like, quick, we got to get our cameras on this. This was awesome. Like, what are you hoping to capture in
based
that?
on experience, those unannounced activities are mostly bouquet toss. Sometimes just a quick speech of a relative, just someone just stand up, put the mic. So we have a camera ready. It'll be handheld. Because you have just like pick it up, turn on, record, right? So again, because of the Panasonic IBIS, we can make that work. We can make that work. So yeah, we have a camera standing by. For example, we're eating and then something's happening. You have to.
You just something that you can just grab and go.
Yeah. You don't have to. You won't have the time to set up a tripod or a monopod and film. You've missed it. You have to have ready right there and then.
And when you are shooting those sorts of moments, are you just locking in on one wide angle and just trying to just literally just capture it, or are you trying to get in for some close-ups and do some other things?
I'll do, if it's just me, I'll do a wide. And once I see that my second shooter got his camera as well and is recording, and I can see that he's recording that angle, and then I put my camera at the other side to get the reaction from both. So it's really just communication between the team.
Do you have like a sort of like unspoken sort of like body language, eye language between you and your second shooters now, that you sort of like, you can look at each other and know like
the regular
little eyebrow raise, thumbs up, it does the trick.
I know people who use walkie-talkies, but it's too noisy.
I've never got on the idea of walkie-talkie. Like
over
when I feel like the only time you would need to coordinate over stuff is when it's time sensitive, and the time sensitive things you can't be making noise at, like ceremony and speeches and stuff. I've never jumped on the. we just do Facebook messaging. if
we do that too. Texting.
Okay, and so to start to sort of wrap things up, what would you say to someone who is listening to this that thinks their style is a bit more montagey and abstract, and doesn't think this idea of more regimented coverage
you can call
would
it
suit
like,
their style?
You can call it production, because we kind of think that we're doing it in a production level already. You know what I mean? Like 3 people. But yeah, going back to your question, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a videographer who just wants to create a highlights of a montage highlights of a wedding video without any audio. Just video, slow motion, video, slow motion, video, slow motion until you reach the 6 minutes. You don't even hear anything. It's just music. There's nothing wrong with that. As for the videographer, I'm saying, if that's your style, then hone it. Make it yours. Make it beautiful. Be the best montage videographer in the whole world. Do it as best as you can. However, if you look at the side of the couple, they're kind of missing out. They will miss out, actually, in the future. Because imagine this. You get a call. Mr. Videographer, I love my montage video. It's absolutely rocked my world. We cried, even though there's no audio, it's just music, and it's our favorite music. We loved it so much. Can we please, because it's been 8 months since our wedding, and my dad he's in a bad situation, and we would like to have. And I remember him giving a really good speech. Can I please have the entire reception speeches?
Yeah. And you don't have that.
And if you don't have it, what do you say?
Yeah.
Can I? In the beginning of the booking process, they just want the highlights. They don't want ceremony. But after 10 months, I said, "Can I please have the ceremony, please?"
Yeah.
If you don't have it, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, part of that is establishing expectations with the couple. So, like, really making them know beforehand, like, look, if you go this montage route and you want to just do one videographer, and it's cheaper, but you have to know that to do that, we can't capture all this. So, if you were going to go down that route, I would definitely suggest setting up expectations with the couple well in advance, so they know what they're getting into, so that because people often don't understand how video production works, and they just think, oh, well, they're filming, they've got the speeches. So you have to let them know ahead of time. Either they're locking into this idea of a one-man band montage, like not recording all the speeches, not recording all the ceremony thing. They're definitely okay with that. Otherwise, but if there's any hint that they might want the full ceremony, full speeches, you have to let them know that doing it as a one-man band is potentially not going to happen that way.
But if you look at it on a business side of things,
there's the ability to upsell and stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
right?
There's that whole.
So there's it's a win-win situation.
Yeah,
if you have the footage, in the future, you can easily get 700 or 1,000 for a speeches or a ceremony.
Yeah, and I think too, like, even just from the highlights film, there's so much like sort of creativity and storytelling and richness that can come from using these kinds of multicam techniques and using audio and kind of building these stories that you get so much more than simply just doing slow motion music. And it's a good way to start out. It's a good way to learn. It's a good way to learn how wedding days run and sort of like get you up to speed. But I think there comes a time when surely you sort of graduate from
you have to
slow motion plus music.
Yeah, if you don't graduate from that, you're just not into filmmaking.
Yeah,
you have, because if you're into filmmaking, like your heart is into filmmaking, you yourself would want to walk away from that.
Yeah,
and find make it more interesting.
Yeah, I guess it'd be the difference of people using wedding films to get into music videos.
Exactly.
Because if that's your jam, then wedding films is a good way for you to transition into something like music videos, whereas that's the kind of storytelling you're into.
Exactly.
The kind of filmmaking you're into. But I guess kind of like know that and own that. Otherwise, you might be perpetually kind of like struggling as to why you aren't getting more out of your wedding films.
Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
being a videographer who does the montage type stuff.
Yeah.
Because there will always be market for that. There will always be brides who only like that.
Yeah.
But also there will be brides who like the whole picture.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And
that's
it definitely,
because
because it certainly allows for a more like affordable option, which is extremely important. But I guess like knowing that there's potentially more than that, and that you don't have to be, I guess, like scared around the idea of having 2 or 3 videographers there with you on the day.
Some people especially who are very conscious about the number of people who attends their wedding. So if you add 3 more videographers, it's a lot to them.
But I guess it's about being a solid team and everyone knowing their roles and their place around how they
we always tell the couple, like, look at me, I'm Asian, I'm like 5'1", you won't see me. You won't see me if I stand beside your brother, like I'm invisible.
Alrighty, I think that's going to just about do it for us today. It's actually just going to be me signing off now. We actually lost the last 10 minutes of the episode where David signed off talking about what he's been watching lately, which was The Walking Dead. So unfortunately, we don't get to hear that. But yeah, hopefully you guys took something away from today's episode around covering certain aspects of the wedding day in a bit more detail from different angles, and thinking about all the different shots you need to sort of piece together your edit. And so, yeah, I just want to thank David for coming along and joining me on today's episode. If you want to find David's work, just search Matter Films. So he's matterfilms.co.nz, and then on Facebook and Insta, and then I am Side Project Films. And yeah, apart from that, we'll see you guys next time for episode 3. See ya.